365 YouTube channel. Thank you very, very much for joining us here today. Now, usually we would only do videos on reviews of shows, predictions, previews, analysis, etc. for our YouTube channel. However, on the odd occasion when a particularly newsworthy story breaks in the world of professional wrestling, we'll chime in and give our 2 cents on it. So yesterday, All Elite Wrestling announced a special themed episode of AEW Dynamite from Miami, Florida on Wednesday, January 15, 2020, which they are calling, drumroll please, Bash at the Beach. Now you may be saying to yourself, Bash at the Beach, that name rings a bell, and it should. Bash at the Beach was a staple of the WCW pay-per-view schedule in the mid-90s. The show centered on a beach theme and had a custom set around the entrance area, decorated with all things in keeping with the beach theme, such as surfboards and sands. It was awesome, and certainly up there with my favorite WCW set. Probably beat by the Halloween Havoc set, though. I mean, that big scary demon thing with the pumpkin, I mean, you can't beat that. The pay-per-view, Bash at the Beach, was usually scheduled in the month of July, with all shows emanating from cities in either Florida or California to reflect the warm weather, sun and sandy theme. Now, it's been suggested by some that this was essentially WCW's version of SummerSlam, or their reaction to SummerSlam, having a big summer pay-per-view. But WCW names are all owned by WWE, right? And the same with the trademarks. So how can AEW use the Bash at the Beach name? Wow, WWE actually no longer owns the rights to the Bash at the Beach trademark. It was left to expire sometime between 2004 to 2005 after their initial purchase of WCW in 2001, which, I mean, quite frankly, I didn't know this, but it seemed absolutely crazy to me. I mean, I'm stunned that WWE allowed the trademark to slip, regardless of how they intended to use it for a future WWE pay-per-view or not. Bash at the Beach holds some hugely significant history with WCW, particularly for one Hulk Hogan. During 1994, at the Bash at the Beach event, Hogan made his in-ring debut, defeating Ric Flair to become the WCW World Heavyweight Champion on his first day with WCW. During the 1996 event, Hogan iconically turned heel, as he was revealed as the third member of the New World Order, joining the Outsiders Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, thrusting WCW into pole position in the Monday Night Wars for the famous 83 weeks. Then, the 2000 event, 2000 Bash at the Beach, was actually Hogan's final appearance for WCW, with the infamous Jeff Jarrett laydown, Hulk Hogan and Vince Russo's shoot promos that would end up in litigation between Hogan, WCW and Russo. So there's history in the brand. There's history in the name, and there's history in the event at Bash at the Beach. With WWE's aim of owning everything, including superstars' names, I was shocked to see that they hadn't picked up the Bash at the Beach name. You've seen WWE in the past use former WCW pay-per-views for their events, such as the Great American Bash pay-per-view in the 2000s. They have Starrcade Network exclusive in December, which by all accounts draws an excellent house for what is essentially a live event every year. Clash of Champions. That's a player on the Clash of the Champions event WCW used to produce. And for goodness sake, War Games is this Saturday. So for WWE not to keep the name and utilize it somehow is beyond me. I mean, their creative could use all the help they can get right now. Either way, with WWE not renewing the rights to the name Bash at the Beach, Cody Rhodes, Executive Vice President for AEW, trademarked the name earlier this year, as the event, of course, was created by his father, the American Dream Dusty Rhodes. AEW released the following press release with the announcement of the event. AEW today announced Bash at the Beach, an unprecedented 9-day experience for superfans that features 2 Dynamite shows, a cruise on board Chris Jericho's tricked-out party ship, and non-stop entertainment in between. The adventure begins on Wednesday, January 15, when AEW Dynamite takes over the Watsco Center at the University of Miami for a Bash at the Beach themed episode, and continues with Chris Jericho's Rockin' Wrestling Rager at Sea, sailing round trip from Miami to Nassau, Bahamas on January 20 to 24. High-octane bouts with the biggest names from AEW will be filmed on Jericho's sold-out Norwegian Pearl ship including January 22 episode of Dynamite on TNT. The history-making event will be bubbling with exclusive opportunities to meet AEW's star-studded roster, as well as non-stop wrestling, rock and roll, live podcasts, paranormal explorations, talent-hosted activities, autograph sessions, parties, and more. AEW's Bash at the Beach events will deliver 9 unforgettable days of wrestling and much more from the hottest company in the business today, said Chris Jericho. Thousands of the Friends of Jericho on board the sold-out rock and wrestling Rager at Sea will have the experience of their lives, and now millions more will be able to watch AEW Dynamite along with us as we break out the bubbly together from Miami to the Bahamas. I think it's a huge pro. I think a huge pro of this is that it's different. A major complaint with WWE is that all the shows are the same. The TV sets are the same. The pay-per-view sets are the same. The storytelling is the same. The layout of the arena is the same. Week to week, there is nothing different. A pay-per-view, a TV, everything's the same. And eventually it becomes stale and boring. And trust me, it has. Bash at the Beach offers AEW a chance to do something similar to WCW with their spring break episodes. A different setting, a different crowd, with a unique look and feel. Different to what you would see every week on TV. And that makes must-see TV something different to the norm. Again, like we touched on previously, there's a lot of brand recognition in the name Bash at the Beach. As I mentioned before, the history of Hogan, arguably the most famous heel turn in the history of professional wrestling, happened at this event. If the casual, lapsed fan, that's what AEW and WWE care about, the casual, lapsed fan hears, oh, they're doing Bash at the Beach, they're going to be more interested in tuning in as opposed to just watching your standard wrestling show. I mean, look at what it's done for Starrcade live events the last few years with WWE. It's drawn a house. The name value is still there in the name. Now, the one thing I would say is that AEW needs to be careful that they're not seen as though they're 2019 WCW. Bash at the Beach, TNT, Tony Schiavone, etc. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love me some Tony Schiavone. I think he's been fantastic on Dynamite and truly a breath of fresh air. But my point is that they need to walk that line of paying homage to WCW, but still being their own separate entity, being AEW, being fresh and new. While people may look back fondly on WCW, to me, there's still some stigma about what it eventually became with its product in 2000 and 2001. AEW needs to ensure that the casual fans don't mistake that. Us hardcore fans, the smart fans, they'd like to say, the vocal minority, know AEW isn't WCW. They know that they're paying homage to WCW's product. But, the casual fans might not know that. And although 2000, 2001 WCW product and 2019 WWE product, Raw and SmackDown, is essentially the same thing. I know, controversial. But I'm curious to see where they go with the event. I think it's a huge get for AEW. And you would like to think it would give a bump in the ratings as well, as special themed episodes tend to do so for pro wrestling programs. The only issue, I would assume, is the possibility that Dynamite is live on the Jericho Cruise on the January 22 edition. I can imagine the difficulties of a live TV broadcast from a ship on the water. I mean, perhaps if it's docked, they might be able to get around that, but still. They haven't stated whether that episode from the Jericho Cruise will be live or not. They mentioned taping the matches from the cruise, so maybe they'll have those in the can to air live on tape. Again, no, it will certainly be worth tuning in for. And more importantly, it's different, and different is good. But you have to ask the question, if NXT is live that week and it's a tape show on the Jericho Cruise, could that be the week that NXT finally gets to win? Most importantly, though, if they don't have the classic Bash at the Beach set with the sand and the surfboards, AEW drop the ball. Or as you could say, the beach ball in this case. Hey, maybe Darby Allin, instead of riding a skateboard to the ring, will ride a surfboard to the ring. Who knows? I, for one, will be tuning in and expecting to see a Kevin Nash-esque cannonball into the pool, as Kevin Nash did in the spring break episode on WCW. But what do you think of the return at Bash at the Beach? Let us know in the comment section below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Once we get to that magic number of 1,000 subscribers, we'll be able to do live reviews of every show and really get our great followers more involved in our reviews and our videos here on YouTube. So, Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you've come across this video today. We really appreciate it. And we'll speak to you again very, very soon.